Hello, welcome to video training. We'll be covering accounts payable, level 1, chapter 2, hand post payment. Okay, from the main menu, let's select accounts payable. Now we'll be selecting posting. Prior to this chapter, we went over entering bills. Entering bills, you're entering a vendor, you're creating a vendor who you're going to be paying, writing checks, doing auto deductions, somebody that you're dealing with on a regular basis. What hand post payment is used for typically are people that you don't want to keep in your accounts payable system. Maybe a UPS driver shows up and he's got a COD. Maybe a company that you may never purchase anything again from. Maybe you just need to cut a check to a customer. So it's things where you don't really want to create a payable record for it, but you want to record the fact that you wrote the check, obviously, and all these things are going into a certain area called temp vendor. So everything you do through hand post will go into a temp vendor. So let's go in and do a couple examples. Example number 1, and let's hit hand post payment. And this is the screen you'll see. Now typically we have option number 1 where let's just say a UPS driver shows up, he's got a COD, it's from a company we've never heard of before, I just want to cut a check, say what it's for, and be done with it. Okay, I'm just going to say, okay, new company. This is going to be the name that's on the check. The amount of the check. You don't need to put a description, but we recommend putting a description. Obviously, a year from now, 2 years from now, somebody may look at this $1,200 check. They may want to know what it's for. Okay, we're not going to use, you can, and you do have the option if you read what this screen says, enter the vendor number, and it will actually put this check and bill into the vendor that you have on file. You can also select a field and it'll do a lookup. We will do that on one of the examples. Right now we're just going to enter a check for somebody who is not in our payable system. It defaults to today's current date. You can put an invoice number, it's not mandatory. If you do not put an invoice number in, the computer will automatically assign what we call a tracking number. So there will be a number assigned automatically. I will hit F12. It wants to know, okay, what bank are you going to write this check from? Obviously, these are the banks that we created in bank maintenance. Are you going to pay cash? Cash can be taken out of your cash register. It could be taken out of petty cash. Are you going to pay by credit card? Let's do the first example. We're just going to cut a check from this particular bank. Do you want the computer to print the check? This is the default. If you're having the computer print the checks 90% of the time, you want that default to be yes. In this case, I've got it as no. This is the next check number. OK to post. And this is my general ledger screen coming up saying, OK, I'm taking the money out of this checking account. And I do not know where to expense it because there is no record in my accounts payable system. That's why if you are writing checks or you're putting a bill in for somebody that's in your payable system, you'd have the account numbers, you'd have all this set up. So in this case, maybe I don't know exactly, or I can click on here, look up my expense account that I want to put this to. There again, maybe a postage, and hit F12. Now that has cut the check, put it into my general ledger system, and it's now sitting into this what we call temporary area. All right, let's do another scenario. Let's go in and pay by credit card. There again, the new company name. This is what will be printed on the check. This is the amount of the check. This is the description. And now all I'm going to do is just hit F12. This is really all you need to do. In reality, you just need to enter the name and the amount. I'm going to hit F12. And this time I'm going to say I want to pay by credit card. OK to post, yes. Now it's using my credit card account. And I would put my expense account. That's not a valid account number, so we're going to do a lookup. And let's just pick any account here. We will do an expense account here. And let's just do general. Okay. Now, let's do another scenario. Let's suppose I want to put a bill in for somebody who is in my system, who actually I'm just in a hurry, I need to cut a check, maybe the UPS driver, I'm writing a COD, and it happens to be for a vendor that I deal with all the time. I could go in and do the exact same thing in posting the bill, like we did earlier, or I could also do it here. Now, if I'm going to use a vendor that's in my system, if I type something in the name field, it will ask me, do I want to use what I typed in or do I want to use the name of the vendor? So if I leave that blank and then type in the amount of the check, and there again, if I don't leave it blank, it will ask me a question which you'll see in a minute. Now, let's just put in a description. Now this time, if I knew the vendor number, I would just type it in. If I don't know the vendor number, obviously select vendor for lookup. I'm going to hit the key, here's all my vendors. Let's suppose I want to put it to Verizon. So we're going to select Verizon. And now I'm going to hit, it knows Verizon's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to hit F12, or if I wish, I could type in a invoice number, hit F12. Now this is where it's saying vendor name is Verizon. Now I didn't type anything, and if I typed something in here and I said no, it would print that name on the check. Normally, if you're going to use a vendor, obviously yes would be the option. Now it's saying, okay, are you paying this with cash? Are you paying it by credit card? Maybe we're going to pay this by cash. If cash is what we're doing, we should select cash, okay to post. And now it's taking out of my undeposited cash account. And it knows the account it needs to update now because it's in my file, which is my utilities, and I'm just going to hit F12. So these are three distinct scenarios that's going on. Obviously, most of the time this is only used for posting bills and payments, typically on quick things that come in. Somebody just says, I need a check, I'm going down the street, I'm going to buy something, and you may want to just key this in. It's typically used for people that you do not have vendors created for. If you have vendors created for, obviously you'd be using entering bills, although you can use hand post payment. Now, where did that stuff go? If we go to vendor year-to-date recap and we do a lookup, we have a vendor here that's called temp. That's where all these vendors go. So that all this stuff will go in here and it will have the name that we put in. It will have the invoice number we put in and the amount of the check. Obviously, these are all put in as paid. If you double click on it, here's what we entered. There's the general ledger numbers. Here's the accounts that are posted to. Also, if you select here, you can see how it got paid. 89 is a credit card payment. 88 is a cash payment. This number here would be the bank that you wrote the check out for. So keep that in mind. Also, if we look at a credit card account, that is not our credit card account, it's our credit card account here. All credit card charges are put in as hold. And there'll be a thing out here, credit card, they'll all put in as hold, so you'll pay these charges as you go along. So if you're paying a bill using a credit card, obviously it's going to go out to the account if it's in your system and say that it's paid. It's then going to go out to your credit card account and put it in there as a hold. So when you make your credit card payments, you'll go in and release them and say what they're for. Or typically when you're paying credit cards, obviously you're just paying the oldest invoice. Okay, credit card payments. There's a credit card account. It's called 9998. That'll always be where all your credit cards go. Also, there is something else to keep in mind when you're setting up your credit card. See the section on setting up credit cards. But typically, most people have a separate account for credit card charges so that when you are paying things by credit card, it doesn't affect your accounts payable. There's a separate account called credit card expenses. Okay, this concludes this section.